What's up YouTube? My name is Bro. For this video we are going to be discussing two big pieces of news as far as game releases, and also what you shouldn't do if you are a game company, especially a young one in a fairly young genre still. Shall we get started? I think that'd be a good idea, don't you? So, we're going to be discussing first two game releases that were announced, and they are a Code Realize fandisc and Steins Gate Zero. Let's start with Code Realize. Code Realize, for those of us who forgot, is one of my favorite Otome games / visual novels of all time. It's just one of my favorite games, period. The setting, the characters, just the story, everything about it. It was basically a historical fiction version of London. And you have, some of my favorite characters in there in gaming literally come from that one game. You have Arsene Lupin, MP Barbicane, Victor Frankenstein, Abraham Van Helsing, Sholmes. He's an interesting cat. Who is another good one? Leonhard. He had a big booming voice. But anyway, the game got so successful, it's going to have a fan disc. Pretty sweet, isn't it? But here's something else that was pretty interesting. If you go look on VG charts and you were to look up the game, look up its US and its Japan sales. US actually outsold it. Significantly, it outsold it. In the 10-week period, it sold over 50,000 copies here in the US. And the time it was out in Japan, it sold around, I believe, 20. At least in the first 10 weeks. 20,000. It seems to me if you're going to release this fan disc, it would be best served if you put it out in the country where it actually sold the best. Just saying. Axis, if you're listening, this is what you do. Get with Idea Factory and Otome and tell them, hey yo, you know where it sold the best, right? That's what you need to do. But anyway, the fan disc which is coming out is going to introduce a new character and a new route. The new character will be John Watson. Yes, you already know where this is going. The new route will be Sholmes. Watson will not be playable because Watson, as it was discovered, is married. So, for that reason, you can't have Cardia, the MC, date him, sadly. But it's understandable why. You don't want him committing adultery. Anyway, I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping we get an English release of it. And please, for the love of God, look, the game actually sold well, but here's the weird thing about VG charts. It doesn't tell you if it was physical or digital releases that did better. But please, for the absolute love of God, give us a physical release for the game if it were to come out over here. Please, do not make this in Japan only. Don't screw that up. You have this game which has a very interesting following here in the United States of America. Do us a favor and keep the game coming out over here. Keep it fresh in people's minds, because we want more Code Realize. We want more Otomes. And we are going to get another one also outside of that. We are going to be getting a little game called Steins Gate Zero. Steins Gate Zero is I forget if it's the prequel or the sequel to Steins Gate, but it is coming out nonetheless. Here, I'll read you the plot for Steins Gate for those of us who forget. because I actually do, and it's been a minute. Your plot for Steins Gate. Steins Gate is set in the summer of 2010. Now, this is from the first game. Approximately 1 year took place in Chaos Head in Akihabara. See here. It basically revolves around time travel. The player assumes the role of Rintaro Okabe, who is voiced by Mamoru Mayano in the Japanese dub for the game, which is what they kept, and J. Michael Tatum, believe it or not, in the English dub for the anime. The player assumes the role of Rintaro Okabe, the protagonist of Steins Gate. Okabe is an eccentric individual, a self-proclaimed mad scientist who often goes by a pseudonym Kyoma Hyoen. Mayuri and Daru call him Okarin. He is the founder of what he calls the Future Gadget Laboratory in Akihabara, where he spends most of his time and dubbed himself Lab Number 1, as he is the first person to join. Okabe gives off the appearance of being delusional and paranoid, frequently referring to the organization that is after him, talking to himself on his phone, and engaging in fits of maniacal laughter. Most of the time, he takes a fairly personality. He is usually seen wearing a lab coat as he experiments with time travel. He learns that he is the only one who possesses the ability to determine changes between different timelines, which he dubs Reading Steiner. He is 18 years old and is a first-year student of Tokyo Denki University. Yeah, Reading Steiner. Let me explain that. For those who forgot, Reading Steiner is his ability to be able to, as I've already mentioned, to tell what changed if he were to be able to time leap. The problem is he can. It was found out that by an accident in his laboratory, using a microwave, this is interesting, a microwave which he modified, and his telephone, that he was able to time leap. Here's the issue. Every time he did, something would change. But what was to be determined? But this is where things get interesting. Remember how I mentioned an organization was after him? Well, they weren't necessarily after him. Well, they kind of were. But they were more after the fact that they wanted to kill one of his friends. And you see in the game, a lot of interesting crap happens. Let's put it this way. Death is a very, very big part of the game. Because it's actually a plot point which moves the game along. In some ways slowly, but in some ways it worked out for the best. Well, we're getting a second game, which is the Steins Gate 0 now. So now we're going to get to see the next part to the story with Steins Gate. Such is the will of Steins Gate, as he would say. That is the will of Steins Gate. It's going to be interesting if, well, not if, because we know, Mamoru Mayano does reprise the role of the mad scientist, and I will be interested to see exactly how the game plays this time. It does play the same way as another game called Chaos Child. So, that's going to be an interesting game for sure to check out when it does release over here. But speaking of games releasing over here, and let's talk about game companies now, let's talk about something you shouldn't do. So, I'm on Twitter, and courtesy of a friend of mine named, goes by @LeafyDream on Twitter. A company called E2 Games has the rights to a game called Tashio Alice. Well, how do I explain this? Somebody who worked for them was a hardcore Otome fan. And was a male Otome fan. Okay. Well, apparently on the Facebook page, people were criticizing the translation they were using because it was apparently a fan translation. Alright. It's a legitimate criticism, because if you're running a company like this, and if you're making Otome games, you should want to have as pro a translation as you possibly can. This way you can avoid glitches. Look, as much as I love Code Realize, it still had its own glitches even when they did the translation. But you want to have as pro a translation as you possibly can. Well, this person didn't like it, and apparently lashed out at people who criticized them in comments, and also went as far as to make a rant about it on Facebook, but still promoting the game. When people found out that this person did this, he took off the rant and just made it like he was just promoting the game. Well, it was found out, and an apology was issued by the company. They explained what happened, and therefore the person has been removed from the team. Now, I'm going to say this. It's good that they did this, but do you understand why people get pissed off at game companies? We want you to be as pro as humanly possible. We expect you to do a job. Okay? When I review animes, when I review video games, when I review chart shows, whatever I review, which I haven't done in a while, and I apologize. But when I do all these reviews, I have to be as pro as I humanly can. Okay? I can't be biased, or I can't lash out at fans for whatever reason. That's not what I feel my job is, and I know it's not my job. You should know better. If you're going to hire somebody who is an Otome fan, you have to make sure they know, listen, we're expecting you to help us promote the page, promote the games that we're putting out, and so forth. Because imagine this for a second. Imagine if you, E2, didn't squash this. Okay? Considering how, in many respects, young the genre still is, and still with how niche Otomes and visual novels and even BL games still are. Okay? The majority of them, if you're going to play any of them, you gotta go on the fucking mobile device. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, if you could say, well, a handheld's a mobile, like the Vita, yeah, but at least you know you don't have to go on your phone and get them piecemealed, the episodes, $2 or $3 an episode. I understand why companies will do that, but still, it doesn't look good when you have people that are supposed to be working for you ranting against the people who will criticize them justly. Because if I was Otome World, if I was Idea Factory International, if I was Axis, if I was any of these companies that are looking to bring over on, say, the Vita or even Steam, these games that people want, I'd look at this and I go, and consider this. You have this that happened, and you had, what was it? Beastmaster and Prince, Flower and Snow. You had that Kickstarter fail, and part of the reason it failed was because there was there weren't enough tiers, there wasn't a lot of, how do I explain this? There wasn't a lot of communication between the company and even potential backers, to the point where that's, I think, part of the reason it failed. Can you imagine if, you know, the bad vibes from this with this person that was working for you, if it reverberated through, you know, the visual novel world, and if it just infected the fan base? Do you know what everybody's going to end up doing? They're going to end up importing their visual novels because they can't get English. And that's not what you want. Like, I'm looking at D3 Publisher. D3 Publisher. By the way, if you type them in on Google Play Store, they actually have a lot of visual novels. Some of them are actually BL games. But that's not where the visual novel should be relegated to. The visual novel should be able to be played on, at the very least, your computer screen. At the most, your Vita or your television, or your big-ass 35-inch television. Because, you know what? If you really think about it, and I've been thinking about this, actually. The visual novel genre, okay, seems like something that would be perfect for a television. And you know what? Do you know why I say that real quick? Think about this. What do people like to watch on television? They like to watch dramas. They like to watch soap operas. The people that do watch television, that's what they'll watch. People like me, I'll watch a J-drama and I'll watch a K-drama if you give it to me. If I once I get my butt motivated to actually start watching them again. But I'll watch them. If you give me one of these styles of games and you put it on, you know, a television, my God, I wonder if it would sell. What did the PS3 version of that one Hakuoki game do? I seriously want to know what the sales were on that. I'm going to check that in the future. Because if it's sold well enough, and for this genre, I'll say about 20 to 30,000, 50,000, my God, you're almost at a bestseller. But if it's one of those things, I'm wondering if the people would be more willing to play them on their television and sit down and enjoy a story that way. Plus, it saves on battery life. Just saying, kids. But like I've said, I understand why some companies will put the games out in episodes. I do. Which, by the way, I'm also going to do a video in the future, maybe after this one, about why some people should actually shut up about the fact that companies are putting out episodic games, because Otome fans actually have been dealing with that forever. Okay? But I'll talk about that in the next video. But my point is, if you want, with this topic, if you want to keep the Otome genre strong and healthy, you need more positive PR. You need more people that are willing to positively promote you. You need to also be willing to step out on that branch and be willing to say to people, hey, we got this game here, play it, and you might actually be blown away by it. Look at Code Realize, for crying out loud. Code Realize, one of the best games ever. Okay? And I was going to wait and show it to you, but I've already ordered get a pre-repeat, so for the PSP. So we're going to be talking about that game in the very near future on this channel. Do you see what I'm saying now? You need people like me. You need other people, and mind you, I know the Otome games aren't geared towards me. They're geared towards the female audience. I dig that. But the thing of it is you have to learn that this negative stuff that went on, it can't happen. But anywho, that's the video, and I will see you in the next one, friends. Take care. Bye-bye.